disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So, to put in perspective of how horrific the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the horrific genocide that's taking place right now, to put in perspective of the catastrophic damage that is being done to this, CNN put this together. And the fact that this is coming from CNN and they're not even trying to swing this in a certain direction of saying that this is good or bad, that it's just more of a base number to say this is how much damage is done to the innocent lives that are going on over there. Says a lot. Because CNN's very much pro-war, very much so pro-advancing any means to continue on warfare, because it brings money to them, it brings military contractors to advertise, and it brings ratings. Because the more people, are glued to the catastrophic damages of war, the more eyes are going to be glued to CNN and MSNBC and all these other cable outlets. But they can't hide from this. So this goes on to say almost 400 bodies have been found in mass grave in Gaza hospital, says Palestinian Civil Defense. The CNN can't even hide from this anymore. They said authorities in Gaza have concluded their search of mass graves at a hospital in the south of the Strip and said that they have uncovered a total of 392 bodies, including some of them still wearing surgical gowns. Speaking at a Thursday news conference, an official from the Palestinian Civil Defense in Gaza said workers have identified 165 bodies at the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis, following the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the area earlier this month. They are still examining the remaining 227 bodies to determine their identities. Mohammed Al-Mayer said at a news conference in Rafah, "We found 3 mass graves, the first in the morgue, the second behind the morgue, and the third north of the dialysis building," he added. The Israeli Defense Forces said any suggestion that it had buried Palestinian bodies in mass graves was false, and that a grave at the Nasser complex was dug by Palestinians in Gaza some months ago. Sometime, maybe a while back. The Gaza Civil Defense acknowledged that around 100 bodies were buried in graves at the Nasser hospital before the IDF operation there. A CNN stringer who visited the scene Sunday spoke to people who said that they had buried the bodies of family members who had been killed in the grounds of the hospital as a temporary measure in January. When they returned after the Israeli military withdrew on April 7th, they discovered the bodies had been dug up and then placed in at least one collective grave, not all in the initial spots they were buried in, the stringer said. Palestinian Civil Defense also showed graphic images on a TV screen at the news conference. CNN has reviewed the photos that appeared to show several almost unrecognizable bodies at the complex. The images also include bodies of decomposed children. A CNN stringer who visited the scene on Sunday and Monday saw several decomposed bodies in surgical gowns. Photos CNN has reviewed show several bodies still wearing hospital wristbands. CNN footage also shows several other children's bodies decomposed in the complex. Al-Mayer said the civil defense witnessed the presence of children's bodies in the mass graves at the Nasser Medical Complex, which proves crimes of genocide. While the group still examines the bodies, they suspect at least 20 civilians were buried alive in the complex, but did not explain how it knows this or offer proof while it continues to investigate. Al-Mager also claimed that there has been cases of executions of patients who had been receiving treatment at the hospital. He said several bodies were found with gunshot wounds to their heads and injuries to their body. CNN is unable to verify these claims and cannot confirm the causes of the death of those bodies were being unearthed, and it is unknown who is responsible for their deaths. So that's CNN trying to legally hide themselves by saying, well, we don't know. We're just saying that this is what we're being told. We don't want to take any responsibility for this, because they know that if they mention who it actually took place of this, and the fact that they gave you kind of clue right there when the IDF immediately took reaction to this. If CNN actually did that and point the finger at who was responsible, they wouldn't be getting their advertising dollars. And they'd be challenged by a world international lobby firm. So that's why CNN would put something like that. Oh, we can't verify if it's accurate or not accurate. We can't, put our foot down on any of this. CNN interviewed a father on camera the moment he identified his 15-year-old son's decomposed body from the clothes he was wearing. The man stared at his son's lifeless body, pointing at him, and said, "That's my son. I could tell from his blouse." Footage shows him kneeling and holding his son's head, inspecting it from the back, and confirming one more that is his son. "Oh God, he's dead. He's dead," he said while wiping off tears. Altmaier said at the news conference that the Palestinian Gaza Civil Defense in Gaza discovered tortured marks on some bodies. CNN cannot independently verify these claims. Altmaier added that Israeli forces buried several bodies in plastic bags at a depth of 3 meters, which made them decompose quickly. The occupation deliberately concealed evidence of its crimes in the Nazar complex by changing the plastic roads once more again, he claimed. Video recorded by CNN shows bodies wrapped in 3 different colored shrouds: white, black, and blue. Israel's defense forces did not respond to specific questions about the allegations being made regarding the grave sites. In response to a question from CNN about the mass graves, the IDF shared a link to a post on X from its international spokesperson, Nabda Shoshana, who commented on a video of Palestinians digging up mass graves at the complex. Shoshani wrote in the post, "Misinformation is circulating regarding a mass grave that was discovered at a Nazar hospital in Khan Yunis. The grave in question was dug by Gazans a few months ago. This fact is corroborated by social media documentation uploads by Gazans at the time of the burial, as seen in the video below. Yet any attempt to blame Israel for burying civilians in mass graves is categorically false." Like, the fact that he's using categorically in that statement shows that he's hiding something. Is categorically false and a mere example of a disinformation campaign aimed at delegitimizing Israel. The IDF has said it has removed dozens of bodies from Gaza for DNA tests in Israel before returning the remains in containers. The Palestinian Civil Defense in Gaza called on the United Nations to form an international committee to investigate the mass graves at the Nazar complex. And I'm interested that they brought up the DNA testing, because I didn't even know this. I'm literally learning new things in response to these wars. But did you know in Israel, I didn't even know this, it's illegal to take a DNA test unless you have authorization from police force or some sort of law enforcement. It's illegal to have a DNA test. And my guess is because if someone takes a DNA test in Israel and then realizes that they're connected, their genealogy is connected to someone that they don't prefer, that's going to cause problems. And that maybe the Israelis are going to rethink the whole situation, if you will. So that is absolutely horrific. That is just, it's tragic to hear about this. So that news got spread to the State Department in the United States. And watch how they try to cover this up. Watch how kind of the nutty professor of the State Department, he looks like Eddie Murphy in the fat suit. If you ever seen the nutty professor, he definitely looks like that. He's about to delegitimize that story by using State Department talking points to discredit a journalist who brought attention to this. Watch how this goes.
Classes.
The Gaza Civil Service today held a press conference this morning, which was televised, and they said that evidence showed that many of those pulled out from the 3 mass graves that they found, including children, were tortured before being killed. Some even showed signs of being buried alive, along with other crimes against humanity that they accuse Israeli forces of. They called for an independent forensic investigation. This administration repeatedly says that it asks Israel, the Israeli government, to investigate itself. As a mediator for peace.
So the United States' best solution is to have the people responsible of the war crimes, or put it this way, the people accused of war crimes investigate itself for war crimes. Because that's the best soul-hearted solution from the United States. That's the best that the United States is capable of. Just like how we investigated ourselves when it came to our war crimes committed in Afghanistan, and Iraq, and Syria, and Libya. Because who knows better than us than we do? Who knows better about Israel than Israel? And it just makes sense, right? You know? The criminal goes to investigate. Like, why did he just conduct his own trial? Why don't he does his own jail sentencing? Wow. Here's more to this.
Itself. As a mediator for peace between Israelis and Palestinians, how does it ever make sense that the United States asks the accused party to examine itself and provide reports that you have previously said that you actually trust? What's wrong with an independent, scientific, forensic investigation? I mean, if the results of such an independent investigation prove the accusations to be baseless, then that would be in Israel's favor, wouldn't it?
So
that's the journalist making a rational question there. That makes sense. Why is it Israel? Why is it Israel's responsibility that you're saying that it has to investigate itself when we can have an independent outsider investigator, a forensics team to examine what happened over there? And if it does turn in favor of Israel, what exactly is wrong with it? What exactly are you trying to hide away from this? And he's about to exactly tell you why he's hiding away from this.
as it relates to the continued reporting about we're seeing about these mass graves, first National Security Advisor Sullivan spoke a little bit about this yesterday, but we continue to find these reports incredibly troubling, and that's why yesterday you saw the National Security Advisor call for this to be thoroughly investigated. We want to see these facts looked into, and simultaneously we're continuing to press the government of Israel for more information. The IDF has spoken.
So you're going to criticize Israel and investigate Israel by getting information from its government. That's some solid, serious investigating right there. That's some serious looking into. That's interrogation of the State Department. Well, we're believing that Israel may be committed of war crimes. Who should we ask for about that? Their government. Wow.
Into this in some sense already, but we are continuing to press them for additional information.
But why not have an independent forensic scientist, which the Palestinians are calling for?
We think this does need to be thoroughly investigated, but in terms of the modality, we continue to want to see some additional information from the government of Israel before
But
we
you're
make
asking
other
the accused
assessments.
to investigate itself.
we believe that through a thorough investigation, we can get some additional answers. We're also hoping to continue to get more information from the government of Israel on this.
So all he did was repeat the exact same thing 3 times over. He's hoping it's like Beetlejuice. Like, we're very serious about finding answers to this, but we're also getting information from the government of Israel. But we're also getting information from the government of Israel. We're also getting information from the government of Israel. Is he here? Did Netanyahu appear? Did it work? Is the journalist gone? Stop asking me questions. I summon the good-hearted faith of Netanyahu, the bloodthirsty Cretan. Please appear. So, that was tweeted out from Fiorella Isabel, great journalist if you follow her work. She pointed this out and says the U.S.'s logic. Reporter evidence shows that they were pulled out of the mass graves. State Department response: we think this does need to be thoroughly investigated. We continue to want additional information from Israel. But you're asking the accused to investigate itself. We believe that thorough investigation, we can get some. So you could tell that this was purely 100% intelligence agencies fed lies. That's propaganda. That's all written down on a sheet and just repeated as facts. If you repeat it enough times, somewhere out there, someone's going to believe it. We're not. Because we're able to see things for what they are. We're able to expose in real time. And we're able to look and investigate and find conclusions based on ourselves. And we know that having a country accused of war crimes investigating itself does not always turn out well. Case in point, hostile bombing in Afghanistan, not a war crime, according to the Pentagon. Something that we commit is not an actual crime, according to who? Us. The only time we can actually apparently get away with war crimes and then have the press write about it. Imagine if some, shoplifter tried to do the exact same thing. They think that would be crazy. Oh, let's have the shoplifter, the criminal, try to punish itself. I mean, we live in a criminal class. It's a criminal oligarchy that's controlling us. And in order for us to have wars on terror, they have to create the terror. They have to establish the terror. They have to sell you the idea of terror. They have to fear you into fighting that terror that they have created. All because they want to get away with their criminal behavior, their money laundering, their insider trading, and walk out millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires, laughing themselves to the bank with blood on their hands. That's all it really is.